Welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. With me, as usual, is my co-host, Big Jim Mack. How you doing today, Jim?
Fantastic, Tyson. I'm excited to jump in today. I think last week we had your kind of fired up rant, but proclamation, and
My rant.
and today's my turn. I'm not going to maybe be quite as high strung or excited as you were last week, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I do. I get fired up sometimes, and it's more fired up. I wouldn't say it's fired up. It's more frustration
Okay.
when you can see the potential of what podiatry as a profession can do in so many areas, and how you can help so many people in so many different ways. And, there's like these anchors that are wrapped around the profession sometimes that are just dragging through the mud, not wanting to see change and slowing things down. And I just get the shits big time.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's not about me this week, Jim. This is about you. This is your episode. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about kind of understanding the trade-offs with different marketing providers. I think we've talked a little bit in the past about, what different type of marketing providers are, like someone like myself, who's kind of a one-man consultancy that does marketing services, and then kind of some larger agencies in kind of the provide marketing websites and do SEO, Google search ads and those things. But I sometimes get asked by potential clients, why you instead of them, or and I try to be diplomatic, right? I think I'm good at what I
You
do.
say, why not?
Well
Why not? That's what you
well,
should be
I think
asking.
I'm good at what I do, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I think it's, each clinic kinda has their own, needs, and I definitely wanna kinda lay out some of the kind of pros and cons of myself and pros and cons of what I see of some of the other ways to, get, marketing, for your practice, because I don't think there's necessarily one size fits all. There's
Mm,
definitely some benefits and some limitations, for each of these things, and I think just being completely upfront from my this is only my perspective, right? Maybe someone else in the industry would have, other things to point out, but I think it is helpful to take a look at, what are some of these pros and cons before people jump into it. So when you're having discussions with, someone to provide marketing services for you, you have kind of at least a baseline of information to kind of go from.
yeah, but I think what you're about to cover too would apply to business coaching exactly the same. I'm one person that I do business coaching, and there's big companies out there that do business coaching, and they're going to be different people are going to be suited to different things for different reasons. Yeah, I know which I think is better, but I'm also biased. So, and but I know what you do, and I know what some of the other companies do. So let's run through it. Where would you like to start?
Yeah, and like you said right there, I think it's all about kind of educating the audience, and that's why we're talking about it. That's actually why I got into podiatry marketing in the first place, is to make sure that people have the pieces of information, the knowledge to feel educated, so they can make these decisions. So first, we're going to start off with the pros of what are the benefits of working with a smaller podiatrist that does marketing like Podiatry Growth or myself, and
Yeah,
the first is really kind of specialized knowledge. I have a deep understanding of podiatry, kind of offering tailor-made marketing solutions that, really kind of resonate with a clinic and kind of what type of practice they're trying to build. That's kind of where what my focus is. I don't have, I'm not like a wound care only side, or I'm not going to use a bunch of stock images. I really want to build authentic, genuine sites for each practice that I work with. I'm not going to have 50 different clients. If I can get to 10 or 15 people I'm working with, that would be fantastic. So this kind of the individual knowledge, I'm a podiatrist, so I don't have to necessarily, outsource any of the writing, any of the website stuff, any of the Google
yeah.
ads. I take care of it all in house. So that's kind of my advantage as far as a pro when it comes to the kind of the single consultant side of things.
Well, a simple term like if somebody doubts whether you know a little bit more than the average, say, marketing company, is go to your marketing company and say, do you know what a plantar plate is? And they won't. They'll have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
So there'll be terms that they can talk to you. You're talking in the same language that they need to actually talk to their patients as well. There's a better understanding because you've got that podiatry knowledge.
For sure.
So what's next?
Yeah. So next is, when it's a one-on-one situation when the doctor can work directly with the person doing their marketing service, it's a much more personalized service, right? You have the attention of, the kind of sole attention of the provider and the doctor working together, as opposed to different layers of bureaucracy, right? If a
Yeah.
company has 500 podiatry clinics they're working with, then there's all kinds of customer management agents. There's the people that are building the website, the people that are doing the SEO, the people that are doing the social media, and not all these entities might talk to each other. And they kind of, you're not talking to the person that's actually doing your website. So if you want to have a change made, it can take, days or sometimes a week for these things to happen. So you really want to, the benefit of that kind of smaller consultancy is that you get these kind of custom strategies that align with your unique goals in a timely manner.
Well, I remember when I used to work with, doing marketing in cans, and I mentioned this to you off air before, where there are marketing companies that look after online, offline, websites, social media, newspaper, radio, all the different types of marketing. And what is really funny is these people that own the companies in cans now all used to be reps at, like, say, the newspaper or the radio or something. And I remember when I was talking to them initially about something, and I'd say to them, what's better, to work with you directly, or should I go to a bigger company that looks after everything? And they went, oh, no, never go to one of these big companies because they know a little bit about a lot, but they can't really offer the unique service that you need. But it's really funny now that they own the bigger companies themselves, it is totally changed. So I look at the pros working with you is it's that individual personalized service that you could offer me. Whereas if I went to a company, potentially I could just be handed an employee.
Yeah, you'd be one to many.
And their care factor, their care factors is they'll care as long as they're getting paid every week. They'll care about you. If they stop getting paid, the care factor stops.
That's usually how it works. Yep.
So what's the next pro?
Yeah, so the next pro is kind of some flexibility and adaptability. This can kind of come into, the marketing plan, also some of the different tools you use. No, in marketing and podiatry itself, things change over time. And, a smaller agency can be a bit more nimble when you're working with a consultant. Someone that has 500 different clients, they're just not going to be able to be as responsive. It's just the size of the thing won't allow them. So if there's things that are changing, quickly, or market trends that need to be taken care of. One of them I would say that I found recently is something called local search ads, and maybe we'll do a podiatry marketing episode about this in the future. But there's certain things that are only, you know, you can kind of get in front of the curve if you're working with a smaller consultancy is flexible and adaptable to these things. So, that's one positive of a smaller consultancy.
Okay, and what about the ability for them, they have a question or a concern about something that they can just get on the phone and ring you,
Yeah,
contact you? That would have to be a lot easier. I have Jim's number. I will ring Jim.
Yeah, so there's something that's going wrong with the website, or, something they some small change they need to make. I'm an email or a phone call away, get me directly. And usually I've built time in each day to work on patients' websites or their digital marketing. So that's something there's pretty quick turnaround when you have that direct communication. Like I said, usually in some of these larger agencies, there's going to be, three or four different layers. One person has to talk to this person, to the website designer, to the person who implements the change. It's just going to take time. And, if there's something that's glowingly wrong, the quicker you can get in contact, someone like myself, the quicker things can be taken care of.
Yeah, especially if you want changes made and you want them made fast. Bang, quick phone call to you, you can get it done. Whereas, yeah, you ring in a company and then if that person's out with another client or doing something, then there's a message waiting there for them. And then what's their system of getting the message to them? And then if it's a decision that they can't actually make because they're an employee, then they might have to push it up the chain a little bit before they finally get the response. So yeah, it's it's not as nimble, I don't think.
No, for sure. And
What else?
yeah, so the last pro would be kind of an exclusive focus. So myself and other consultants in this area that, we're going to work with one person in a local area. We're not going to try to get every single podiatry clinic in, say, Indianapolis, Indiana, to come onto my services. I think it's really, really important in some of these larger companies that work, they don't necessarily see they want to get all the clinics, and they don't have these kind of exclusive service agreements. So there can be a real
Mm.
conflict of interest if you're not, if the clinic down the road is being taken care of by the exact same agency that you are. So just be aware of that, and especially smaller consultants are very aware of this, and don't want to kind of set up you up. They want to set you up for success and not in some conflict of interest situation.
Yeah, but I'm exactly the same with coaching. I won't coach two people that are in the same town or who I know are going to be competitors, because even though I like to think that that there would not be a conflict, you don't know. It's not that you would deliberately do it, but it would be really difficult. So I could picture a marketing company that's really big, that's got 4 or 5 clients in the same town, and they know individually what each one of them are trying to do. They would have to influence how they speak to another client. It would just have to. And if it doesn't, if it doesn't influence them, then I don't know. It would just be I've never been in that situation. I've never had to worry about it.
Well,
But I know with the bigger companies that it just happens.
there's only one number one ranking in Google, right? Or on Google Maps or Google Ads. And if you're doing those types of marketing, you're basically bidding against yourself in a way. If you're
Yeah, yeah. You got 4 clients. I'll get you on. I'll get you number 1, and you're saying that to your 4 clients.
I mean, if you're being honest, you might have say, I'll try to get you to number 2, and then the next person number 3 and number 4. But yeah, everyone's going to say, I'm going to get you to number 1, right? So
Yeah. So are there any cons?
yeah, there's definitely cons, and I want to be transparent about this, right? Like a single consultancy is not for everybody. But for example, there are kind of limited resources. I'm not gonna be the point where I'm gonna see, have 50 clients on my roster. That's just not something that I have the time or the resources for. Maybe someday down the road,
Yeah.
Chat GPT and some different online tools will make that possible. For right now, like I said, I'm some like most consultants that do marketing exclusively for podiatry clinics. In this way, maybe 10, 15 is kind of the max when it comes to that.
Yeah, it would be, because like you said, you're doing everything yourself. So there is a limited amount of space, no different to coaching.
Yeah.
You have a limited amount of time that I have. I don't want to employ anybody else. As the same as you don't want to employ anybody else. You want to work one-on-one with the client and get to know them, and them get to know, like, and trust you over a period of time as well.
Yeah.
Which is the idea of keeping it small.
Yeah, and that's it kind of leads into the next one is there's just capacity constraints, right? Like handling fewer clients allows me to really get to know each clinic very personally, understanding what they want to have in their practice, what they don't want to have in their practice, what's going on in their local area. And, by having that limited availability, I'm kind of a bit of a scarce resource in a way. That
Mm.
you're going to have a quality onboarding. So you know what's happening. You're going to get the, kind of the hand holding or the kind of information you need to make good decisions as we move forward together to try to build your practice. So yeah, that's capacity constraints is kind of the next one.
What about scalability?
Yeah, so that's definitely gonna be challenges with scalability, right? Like I said, I'm not going to be able to onboard five clients all at once. For me, it's generally I'd like to have maybe 1 or 2 new clients every quarter, just like I said, to really kind of gradually ramp up to make sure that I can take care of people and make sure that they have the information they need so we can really get off on a great first step together as we build out their podiatry marketing plan and their online presence.
Okay. Are there any others?
Yeah, the last but not
Any
least is,
other sort of, yeah.
if you got to make sure that when you do have conversations with someone in a single consultancy like myself, just understanding what their time, how much time do they have for you, right? Because and making sure they don't overextend themselves. Whoever you're working with should be completely honest with you about how many clients they have, what their week looks like, so you can have a general sense of how much time they can and energy they can put into your practice. But it really comes down to it. It's that the revenue and the seeing the patients you want to see, those should be the kind of KPIs. And there's obviously other objectives you have, but it doesn't necessarily mean because someone's spending 20 or 30 hours a week on your clinic that you're going to have success. Are they doing the right
Mm.
things in a very, are they leveraging their knowledge to get you the results you want to get? So, but having honest conversations about experience and, making sure they don't overextend themselves is important.
Okay, so if you did get marketing done by a larger marketing agency, what are the pros of doing that, if that's the way the person want to go?
Yeah. So some of the pros with that is that, they have a diverse team, right? So, they have kind of different experts in different parts of marketing potentially. If you have 2 to 500 different websites you're working with, you're probably going to have a website specialist, a Google Ads specialist. So there are some benefits that those people are, doing those types of things, but it really is important that they are, you know, experts when it comes to podiatry in these areas. Just because someone knows these different topics or how to build a website, are they willing to make it authentic? Do they know, try to make search ads in a local area for a podiatry clinic? What are the kind of ways that will attract kind of ideal patients? So they definitely have a wider range of experience, but you got to make sure that that experience includes podiatry.
Yeah, I saw this fantastic video. I've just seen you the link, and it's a marketing agency and having a meeting about their new client and how can we increase their customer numbers, and having this argument around the table, and they're all trying to come up with different ways that they can work out what's the best thing for the client. And the next thing I've got them with blindfolds on, throwing darts at a dartboard. They've got post-it notes on turtles, having a race down the room, and on the turtle's got social media, Google Ads. It's got all these different types of marketing. And it's like, so even though you can have a bigger company, yeah, it might have all these extra people there. Do they understand what you need?
Yeah, exactly.
And how are they coming up with that decision? So what else? What's another pro?
Yeah, another pro would say is like sometimes scalability, right? Like I said, I'll try to bring on maybe 1 to 3 clients a quarter. So if you're number 4 or 5, I might have to say just so you have a great experience, we can't start until 2 to 3 months from now or something, or a month and a half from now, just to give you reasonable expectations. Someone that has kind of a more fully built out team, they might be able to onboard you a little bit more quickly. So it might be able to scale up your website and some of your social media platforms a little bit more quickly.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Anything else?
I would say that another one is like sometimes they have more, they kind of dive into the reports and the data a little bit more. Sometimes I wouldn't necessarily think that these reports are always the best thing because as podiatrists, we don't always know what all these CPC and click through rates and all these other things, but they do usually provide a kind of robust reporting, whether or not that's, that great. I'll let the people that have these large agencies decide, whether it's an online website or these PDFs that are sent to them each month, if it's something that they find value in.
What about they're working with different types of clients, so they could be picking up information outside of podiatry that they could basically bring into podiatry as well.
Yeah, at least in the podiatry space, I don't see a lot of people working with dentists and podiatrists or chiropractors and podiatrists. It's usually pretty podiatry specific. You'll sometimes see other people that do dental websites. I think he no longer does it, but Jimmy Marketing was a guy that did orthotic, orthodontics and podiatry a bit. So there can be some good crossover. I know that I've gleaned a lot of information, some interesting ideas recently from like the aesthetic medicine community as far as when it comes to
Yeah.
before and after photos on a previous podcast. So there are definitely skills you can learn when you're working with other industries, but you definitely want to have someone that knows podiatry and knows how to attract those ideal patients to your practice.
Okay. Are there any other pros? Because I know there's definitely going to be some cons as well.
Well, we'll jump to the cons. I think we've talked a lot about the pros
Yeah.
there. Number one is like we talked about with when it comes to single person consultancies, on the large agency side is that they just won't have time for the personalization and attention. And that's just the state, just the facts. If you look at some of the websites that are created by larger agencies, they're going to be stock images. Generally, they're made more for, I would say, a general podiatrist. They're not very niche. So if you want to be known for wound care, for example, you might have one picture of wound care, from some of these larger agencies, but it's not going to be a picture of the doctor taking care of that wound care patient on the homepage or,
Mm.
really built out pages that describe what they do. So, expect a little less personalization if you work with a larger agency.
Okay. Any other cons? I'm sure there has to be some more.
I'm not going to like dig in too much here, but there are a few.
Go on.
I would say that,
Dig, Jim, dig.
when you have a larger agency though, right, there's going to be just more standardized strategies, right, to kind of be able to keep things consistent across all the different websites they're doing. They're probably going to look a very similar way. They're going to use similar
Oh
stock
yeah.
images, and they're basically going to have almost the same kind of diagnosis and treatment pages from one clinic to the next. So, like I said, it's a bit of a standardization, and they won't be able to. They'll adapt a little bit more slowly than like a single person consultancy was because, if they just can't roll out things as fast if they have a larger roster of clients to take care of. So that's another trade-off.
Now, and that happens in the coaching world as well. I've seen it where I've spoken to clients who used to be with, say, some of the larger coaching companies. And when I talk to them, I go, show me what they took you through. And you could have a clinic that was like right into sports medicine, another one that's say into wound care. And when they show me what they went through, it's like this cookie cutter approach. Because it's an employee that they're working with, and they just take them through the steps. And there is no personalization. It's just moving through. Whereas I might have, say, 5 different people I'm working with in 1 week, and I'm working on completely different things with all 5 because they're all individuals. It's not a cookie cutter sort of approach. Are there any other cons with bigger companies?
I would say that the bigger companies are probably more prone to try to get you at a low price point and then try to upsell you significantly throughout your relationship. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because maybe as your practice grows, you might need some more things. But just to be aware that, if you're paying significantly less for a website, there's probably a reason why you're paying less. And that's probably because they're going to want to keep coming back and selling you more and more things. So that's just something to be aware of. And then last but not least, I would say that, there's this kind of bureaucracy in a larger agency, right? So if the website goes down, you have a bad patient review that shows up on your Google reviews, how long is that going to take to get taken care of? Because very likely the person that you're going to be put in contact with is not the person that's going to actually do make that change or make that improvement on your website, or respond to that, work with you to respond to that negative review, and make sure you stay HIPAA compliant and you don't, you stay kind of ethically above board. So just realizing that, this kind of lack of direct communications is something you'll deal with when you work with a larger agency.
Yeah. Okay. And I just want to go back one step too, when you're talking about the higher costs sometimes of dealing with bigger agencies. It's usually if you have a bigger agency, they're paying for employees. They're paying for their, in Australia, to be superannuation. They're part of their retirement fund. They usually if they've got a brick and mortar business, what you're paying is paying to their rent. And there's a lot of other expenses that just goes with a larger company, and that's what you're paying for. Whereas if you're dealing with yourself when it comes to cost-wise, you don't have all those other expenses. So therefore, I feel that the money that they pay, they're getting more value. All that money is actually, all the money's going to you, Jim.
Well,
so therefore you can take that money and you can use it to help the client. It's not, they're giving you the money and you go, oh, well, this is for the rent. This is for my employees, for a receptionist. This is for all these other expenses.
No, I definitely have a bit more wiggle room when it comes to making sure I'm using tools that are really effective, and kind of having that adaptability is what I think is the most important thing. Because, even over the last, 5 years that I've been doing podiatry marketing, just some of the tools, how they've shifted and changed over that period of time is pretty striking. It almost looks completely different. For example, like a Google ads or Facebook ads or some of these different platforms, if you don't stay up to date with them, they can really change on you. So I think, there's definitely trade-offs here. I wanted to try to be as transparent and non-judgmental as possible. I think, obviously I'm biased being a podiatrist who now provides, digital marketing
And so you should
consulting.
be.
But, I think I offer, personalized, tailored, and flexible services. I have a deep knowledge of podiatry. And, obviously I'm not for everybody, but because I can't take on 200 clients. But at the same time, I think, there are some opportunities with larger agencies. There's some people that are doing good work out there. There's definitely some trade-offs like we talked about earlier, but it's really up to the clinic owners. Really consider what your specific needs are. Do you want more personalization? Do you want more direct communication? What resources do you have? Where are you at in your practice? And then, what are your objectives? And, finding that marketing provider that's going to provide the best overall service for you and for your clinic is really imperative, especially in these days when that's how patients find you, is by doing things online. So definitely consider those options. If you have questions, I'm definitely open to discussing with you. So don't hesitate to get in contact. But that's pretty much it for today, Tyson. I think it's important that people know, what their options are out there so they can make the right decisions for themselves and their practices.
Yeah, just the last comment I wanted to make. I heard somebody once say, oh, I'd rather work with a bigger company because they have a better buying power. And I'm like, yeah, they might. Doesn't mean they're going to pass the buying power on to you. Yeah, they might have better buying power at buying something at a cheaper price, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to pass that on to the client. If they can save money themselves, that's going to go towards rent and other expenses they're going to actually have in their business.
It's true.
So, no, this was a good subject. It only got fired up a couple of times there, but it was good.
All right, Tyson.
Okay, Jim. So I look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, great, Tyson. Sounds great.
Okay, bye.